Welcome back. I'm really excited. From Axion to SM58s to SM7Bs to MV7s, many of us have used Shure products for decades. So they're very well known to us. And it is my pleasure to welcome Senior Marketing Development Manager at Shure, Laura Davidson, to discuss what to consider when selecting microphones. Laura, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
It is so great that you sound so great. Like, I just have to say, we have so many guests that we bring in and we go, oh, are they going to have a good mic? And is this going to work? And it's such a pleasure. I was like, the one thing we know from Shure, if we're talking about microphones, we're going to have good audio. So thank you very much.
No, thank you. I mean, it would be embarrassing if I came on with anything but. So I appreciate
sure would.
that.
We have to start the conversation, to geek out a little bit. Okay, what are you using right now?
Yes, so I'm using our brand new MV7 Plus USB XLR dual hybrid microphone for podcasting, live streaming, etc.
And full disclosure, I have about, I don't know, 5 or 6 of those. Not the new ones, the older ones, the MV7s. That's what we ship out. So the MV7s are the ones that we ship out to to all of our guests for a podcast that I work on. And so we ship them out. We lend them out to those because they're easy. They basically, if they have an XLR input, we can use them. If otherwise, it's a USB connection, and they just turn them on and go. What makes the new MV7 Plus different than the older MV7?
Well, first of all, we now have a USB-C connector on the back of the microphone.
That might be enough for me to upgrade there.
Yeah. I know. It's a game changer. There's also this customizable LED panel on here where you can do 16.9 million color variants because, 16 million wasn't enough. So you can get really creative to match your branding. Right now I'm using it in what's called live mode. Actually, no, I lied. I'm in solid mode. But you can have it pulse or you can have it match your brand and stay solid. I keep mine kind of out of the shot because I'm just not a flashy LED kind of gal. But it's there and it's very cool. But the latest and greatest thing that we've added is some really cool DSP, specifically an onboard denoiser that you can activate. And once you do activate it, it will stay with your settings when you unplug. And so if you were to activate it for your guests and ship it out with that in and activated, you wouldn't have to do anything else. They just plug in and have great sound.
And noise reduction is so important. A lot of us use Mix Pre 3s specifically because of noise assist. We're like, well, how do you actually operate without that? So that's a huge upgrade. Now, is in that noise reduction, does it learn, or is it something that's a general noise reduction system that's kind of running on the fly?
Well, so I'm in auto level mode right now, and it's adapting my gain levels, my compression, my EQ, and the auto noise or denoiser, but you can't customize it. So it is an on or off option. Yeah. So it's learning to a certain extent. If you do apply it in manual mode, it's just basic on or off, and then you're adjusting settings around it. But if your listeners have headphones on, here is my denoiser off, which my room is not super noisy, but it does make quite a bit of difference. I just turned it back on.
Yep.
And if you watch any of our content from NAB, some of our interviews that we did, because I watched your content, we were activating that denoiser, and it was impressively taking out that noise floor. I've used denoiser before and not been satisfied with it. I'm in love with this. So this in and of itself is why you should upgrade.
This is a very expensive conversation because as I said, I have all these MV7s, and our biggest complaint about them is the connection. So the USB connection gets a little loose because we're sending it out to different people all the time. It's not like it's getting plugged in and left in. It's being plugged and unplugged, and it starts to get a little loose in the USB. We were like, if they could just have a USB-C. So that, and then the other thing has been, again, the noise reduction is just a massive thing for us. So to back up though, and I'll ask you a couple questions, then we'll have the panel ask some questions, and then we'll open it up, and we've got questions rolling in. If you've got questions for Laura about microphones, this is the day. So go ahead and so if you're going to ask Shure about so throw those questions into Makana. You can also ask them. We will keep our eye on the QR code. You can go to askofficehours.global. That's askofficehours.global and ask your questions there, and we'll keep our eye on that as well. So when someone says, what kind of microphone should I get? What are the first questions that you ask them to start figuring out what that is?
First question is, where are you going to be recording and using this microphone. Because if you're using it in anything like I'm doing, which is an office with hardwood floors, painted drywall, lots of reflective surfaces, in other words, you're going to want to start with a dynamic microphone right off the bat. And I think a lot of us, when COVID hit, people started working from home, started getting into podcasting and went for the condenser mic because it was what people thought was the kind of ubiquitous choice. But when you're going for controlling your environment, you want a dynamic because it takes more physical energy to move the diaphragm, whereas a condenser is made to be sensitive and pick up all the wonderful nuances. But those nuances include the HVAC noise and your dog barking. So just something to take into consideration.
Right, absolutely. And when are you? So you have the condenser, you have your dynamic. What are the considerations of where you put those when you start to choose those? So because it's not just the mic, of course. Every mic wants to be placed in a certain distance and a certain orientation. Yeah,
that's a great question. And I always tell people microphones are beautiful but dumb creatures. They don't reach out and grab the sound. So you need to get close to them in order to have them perform to their best potential. So if you are one who does not like to have your microphone in your shot, which I know many do, I would recommend going with a lavalier in that scenario. Even though it's omni, you will have a little bit more control, but you have to be close. You have to get your source close to the microphone in order for it to not bring in as much of the reflections in your space. So I'm also speaking off axis a little bit over the top of the mic, because if I were to speak directly into it, it would be more prone to plosives, which I also should mention we put in a digital popper stopper in the MV7 Plus and extended the windscreen. So it's alleviating a lot of the plosives.
One of the things we do with the MV7 is actually we get the SM7B's windscreen and put it onto the MV7.
Yes, been there, done that. This is actually quite a bit longer than the original, so it has alleviated that substantially. So I'm really glad we did that.
No, absolutely. And you're addressing yours across that front face. You're pointing it to the side. You're opening it up. So, and you'll notice a lot of us are doing similar things. Because that's one of the big things we try to train people in is to not be talking straight into their mic, where they're going to tend to get a lot more plosives.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and so do you find when do you have people shift from something like an MV7 to an SM7B?
I always say if you can afford to go that route from the jump, go with the SM7B. More specifically, go with the SM7DB, which we launched not that long ago, which has the built-in preamp.
Does the DB also have the noise reduction that the MV7 has?
No, that one is an analog mic. It is a beautiful dynamic microphone as is. You do need phantom power with it to power the preamp, but it is still a dynamic, so don't be fooled by that. But if you do get a DB and get it home and say, my boost's not working, engage phantom, you'll be fine. But I always say go with that because it's going to give you the best rejection, the best sound isolation. It's the best and the highest for a reason. But if you're in a space that is especially prone to reflections, that's a great place to start, even though the MV7 Plus does a bang-up job.
The way I fix microphones in a highly reflective area is mostly moving blankets.
Moving blankets are very effective.
Or something just like it's really hard. I mean, I think that a lot of times we leave it out, like what mic to pick, but it's also like what environment to pick.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're going to open it up a little bit to the panelists. If any of the panelists have any questions they would like to ask Laura before we go to the producer questions, go ahead, Bill.
Well, Laura, I just wanted, my great-great-grandfather of your microphone wanted to say hi on the air. This is an old SM5B, and it was my first SM5 radio mic that I ever had. And in fact, I bought this from the station where I started doing voiceovers decades ago. I'm just interested in the trends that you're seeing coming up. I know we've seen this migration from XLR to USB and things like that. What other trends do you see happening in microphones in general? One thing I've noticed, seems like you get a lot of performance for a lot less cost now than in the vintage days. What else are you seeing?
Yeah. I mean, we're seeing a lot more products coming into the market at lower price points just to stay in that range or be relevant so that they're more approachable, but then they're sacrificing build quality. So that's something that with Shure, while we're a little bit higher price point than some of those coming in, we still insist on having building to military spec, being durable, going through these rigorous, crazy drop tests and weather tests and everything. So, I mean, trends are more portable, more lightweight, more flexibility, wireless options. Specifically, we just launched a Move Mic system, which is wireless lavaliers. And a lot of people are coming into the market with that. So there's a move to have more portable, high quality audio. But, you know, still having that great sound is what is the differentiator, is what we're seeing.
Go ahead, Courtney.
Yeah, I was going to ask if the new MV7 Plus has the same tried and true dynamic cartridge of the SM58 in it.
That's a great question. It is not the same cartridge as our SM58, but it is a Shure branded cartridge in there. So it's meant to be close to the SM7B. That's where it got its start, but it is a completely different cartridge and circuitry.
It's funny. We needed more SM58s for NAB. You know, so you might know, like we had I don't know 4 or 5 of them. I had to buy another 2, and my response was basically, you can't have too many SM58s. Like you just keep on stacking them up. Yeah. There's Mickey with
nice
sitting around, laying around.
Should have come by the booth. We had them there.
And the great thing is that you can do an interview. You can then nail something together with it, and then you can go back to do the interview again. It'll perform exactly the same way. Yeah, exactly.
Well, but we just launched. I had to bring this friend in. We just launched this guy yesterday.
We have a question about that. Hold that thought. There's a question already there that's going to come up here in just a second about that mic. We're very excited about it.
Yeah. I mean, just to say that the SM58 is ubiquitous, but we're always making new things. So it makes my job really exciting and fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We'll jump into that in just a second. Let's go ahead and jump into the questions from the producers.
Eric Strand starts us out from Essex, Connecticut. Pros and cons of XLR versus USB direct into a computer. Thanks.
Go ahead, Laura.
Great question. And I'm in Guilford, Connecticut, Eric. So we are like very close to one another, and Essex is amazing. So benefit of using this microphone in particular, you can actually use both of the outputs at the same time. So the way I do it in my workflow is I will run my process signal into Zoom, into my live stream, and then I can record XLR directly into my DAW to have an unprocessed signal to use later. Or if you're looking to incorporate multiple guests, that's when the XLR comes in handy, because you can go into an interface and that will support more channels of audio. Although we did just launch Mode of Mix, which allows you to plug in up to 5 USB devices into your computer and manage them with your computer. It's a very cool system.
How does Mode of Mix work?
Mode of Mix, I can
Is it software, hardware? Okay, it's software.
It's software.
Okay, Mac or PC, I assume.
Yes, correct. Mm-hmm. It shows you all of your available input sources on the left here, and you can just click and drag them in, choose how you're going to monitor, choose where you're going to route. You can sound check ahead of your session so that you can see how all of those levels are metering. It will tell you how to adjust those, and then you can record directly into Mode of Mix. So this is a really cool piece of software that we kind of launched at the same time as the MV7 Plus, which allows me to also control the MV7
That's what
Plus,
I was
so
gonna ask
that real-time denoiser. Yes.
So exactly. All the controls. So if you have 5 MV7 Pluses, does it work with the MV7s as well, or just the MV7 Pluses as far as the control for Mode of Mix? So if you have these mics connected, you'll have those software controls that you would have otherwise. You have them all in there, and you can control each one of those mics from that software without having to open up an individual window for each one to get to them.
Correct. Yes. And it will work with third-party mics as well. So you'll notice in my Mode of Mix that I have several sources over here to the left that are not, Shure microphones.
But you wouldn't have the same control over them.
Not the Shure controls, because those are specific to the microphones themselves, but you can adjust gain specifically. So it's just nice to have it all in that central hub.
And then is it mostly designed as a recorder, or can it be mixed and have an output go somewhere else?
It's mostly designed as a recorder, but you can go into your settings and determine if you want to route the main output or all the individual sources, which is a nice feature.
So could theoretically route all 5 out to something like Loopback or Dante or something else like that. And so all 5 individual sources could go out from this, or just the main mix.
As the recording, it would split them out as tracks. For routing, though, you would have to be routing the single source. Yes.
And would
you can see here, you have choices there.
Got it. And then, so it's just basically a sound out. It's got a sound out.
Exactly. Exactly.
And then when it records those multiple ones, does it record like a multi-channel WAV file, or does it record individual tracks?
It records to individual tracks.
That's great. It's really cool. I somehow missed that in the mix of things. Go ahead, Doug. Courtney.
Yeah, I didn't know. When looking at the pros and cons of XLR versus USB, I didn't realize they had this nice software mixer that mixes USB. And one of the cons I was going to point out about the USB is if you're just using one microphone, yeah, it's great. The other con probably of USB is you're limited in cable length. If your mixer, your computer is located, in another room from your microphones, you're limited to about 10 meters. On USB maximum, and XLR can run 100 feet, 200 feet with caution. Also, XLR does have the ability to be plugged into more variety of hardware mixers. If you're on USB, you're going to be with that lovely software mixer that Shure has just introduced, or your software, your workstation software has to be able to support multiple USB inputs to mix.
Go ahead, Mickey.
With the question about the motive mix application, does it word clock between the multiple A to D converters of the Shure mics, or are they still separately clocked microphones?
I believe they're separately clocked, but I can find out more for you and get you a clear answer.
Next question.
Next one comes to us from Ronnie Hofsøy in Tromsø, Norway. And Ronnie wonders opinions on the new Shure Nexadyne, Cardioid, and Supercardioid. And he's got a link to them.
This is the new one, right?
Yes.
This was released
This is it.
Our timing. We didn't even know when we scheduled you that this was going to come out. It was super secret. So anyway, this is the new mic. Tell us all about it.
Okay, so I'm switching over to my Nexadyne at this point. Hopefully you can still hear me.
We can hear you.
And this is my Supercardioid variant.
And we can definitely hear that it's very, there's a lot of off-axis rejection.
Yes, it is a fantastic off-axis rejection mic because, and this is the kind of behind the scenes, under the grill look at our new Ravonic technology.
And it's a little low. Are you able to gain it up a little bit, that mic?
Oh, yep, sorry. There we go. Give me a little bit more. How is that? A little better?
Yeah, it's better. Yep, keep talking.
Okay, awesome. So with the Ravonic technology, you have 2 motors, aka transducers, in one microphone, in one dynamic microphone, effectively creating this space as an acoustic chamber that's going to cancel out all of the unwanted noise that you want, i.e. handling noise and low rumbles and frequencies that you just don't want in the mix, and enhancing the presence of your voice. So this is for performing vocalists. This is the Cardioid variant. And I have the Supercardioid on right now. So 2 choices there, as well as wireless capsule options in black and in nickel, which is pretty darn cool. If I switch over to this real quick.
And you're still a little low. Go ahead and maybe gain that up a little, just a little bit more.
Gaining up. How's that now?
Yeah, it's good.
Better?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. So this is the nickel variant of the wireless cap. And then, like I said, we have it in Cardioid and Supercardioid.
And so I saw that going by. That was the capsule. Just for the handheld XLR, the cost is $299?
Yes,
or that's just
correct.
the capsule or the microphone?
Both.
So both. So both
Same
the capsule and the. Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great.
Yes. Yeah.
It sounds really good. It sounds really good. And what would you say how does the sound change between what a lot of us use, of course, as the SM58? For me, just off the cuff, it feels a little warmer, feels a little clearer.
Mm-hmm.
But is that what the kind of thing we should expect?
Yes, it's got a little bit more clarity in the higher end so that it can cut through. That's the main place that the Nexadyne shines, is that it's not, you don't take any lift from your engineer to get your voice to cut through the mix. So what we're hearing from all of our testimonials from major performing artists, we've been testing it for about 2.5 years, is that they're not having to fight it. They're not having to change anything. It's working with their vocalist as opposed to them trying to make the mic work with them. So it's going to be brighter, but not crispy. And it just really, really enhances all the things that you want and takes out the things that you don't.
Yeah. It was really interesting because I was, this is a big change because with the SM58, I mean, it is such a common, we had someone up there with an SM58 and someone said, oh, could we get something more modern? I'm like, that is modern. Like, that's what we're all using. That's what, like that. That's
right.
what, I know it's 50, 60 years old, but it's still what everybody's using. And so this is a real change of a new microphone that a lot of people can kind of work through. So it looks great. And is it shipping now?
It's shipping now. Yes,
that's
absolutely.
Great. Fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, we don't really come up with new microphone technology all that often. This is the last one, the KSM8, which is dual dyne technology. Still a total rock star. But yeah, this is super exciting for us. We're 99 years old. So when we get new stuff out, it's pretty great.
That's fantastic. Let's go to the next question.
David Brady in New York City is up next, and he asks, I'm a big fan of the MVX2U as it allows me to use all sorts of mics. Do I need to keep Motive running to preserve the customizations I set?
Great question. No, you don't. Once you customize your MVX2U, it will remember those settings, allowing you to plug and play. So you'll want to adjust for your different mics because that's an interface that allows you to take an XLR microphone or a wired microphone and convert it into a USB mic. So you'll want to make it kind of custom for each mic that you're putting it through, but it will remember those settings.
And with that, can you talk to that from the new software? Can you talk to that as well?
Yes. Not the current public beta, but coming soon later this summer. Yes, it will work with Motive Mix and give you full control. That's
awesome. Next question.
Todd Rains out of Allen, Texas is next. I love my BLX14/PGA31 system. I guessed on the frequency band. He picked H10. Oh. What is the best way for a novice to pick the right band?
That's a fantastic question. If you go to Shure.com, we have this wonderful tool called our wireless frequency finder. And you put in your zip code and you put in the system that you're using, and it will give you a list of all of the available channels and how many have the highest frequency count and highest amount of mics max, I believe is how it displays it. So for those trying to buy it, go to Shure.com under support and you'll find it under online software and tools.
That's great. Next question.
Zach Stallsmith in Chautauqua, New York says, for using a mic on a computer, would you utilize a full audio console sending audio over Dante or a USB interface, or just straight up USB mic?
I'm a fan of keeping it simple, honestly, Zach, but it's up to you. I tend to overcomplicate things in my line of work, but if it's just you, then just go straight in. USB microphones have come a long way, especially something like the MV7 Plus. It does the thinking for you in a lot of ways. So don't overcomplicate if you don't have to.
Next question.
Eduardo Augustine in Panama. Considering the beautiful and dumb creatures, would you recommend a dynamic mic headset instead of an MV7 Plus for sports commentators specifically?
I feel so bad when I call them dumb. I'm sorry. I love you equally, all of you. That's a great option. You could do that. Although directional headset microphones are harder to find, but we do make them. And that being said, most headset microphones are omnidirectional, picking up as the human ear hears, omni, meaning all. But yes, if you could find a directional headset, that could definitely help with that in that application.
Next question.
Dave Troutman in Edmonton, Canada. Which of the mics in your line might be best suited to recording brass instruments?
Ooh, great question. So this is actually fantastic for brass. I know it does not seem like the normal character, but this KSM8, what this microphone is known for is its insanely large sweet spot. And because this one has dual diaphragms as opposed to two transducers, this is effectively canceling out proximity effect. So it gives you a large sweet spot. This is actually good too for speakers who have maybe not the best microphone technique. It's going to be a lot more forgiving, but for horn, it can take a higher SPL and also allow you to make more of those natural movements around it to accommodate and pick it up and also hit those frequencies. It's a very flat response microphone too, so it can really handle those. But also we have some clip-on mics for horns, the Beta 98 being one of them. Trying to think, Beta 181 is a great one for that. It depends on where you're doing it, I guess. If it's for live, if it's in the studio, but don't count this one out. The KSM8, I love it.
It's great. Next question.
Kenny Hampton in Greenville, Illinois. As the DSP in the new MV7, does it require a voltage to power? And if so, how is this achieved given USB or XLR options?
So the DSP processing is only accessible on the USB side. So it receives that power from the DSP source, the USB source of your computer or your device. It will work off of your phone. But if you're running XLR, it becomes just one of those beautiful dumb creatures. It becomes a dynamic mic. So keep that in mind. It will not light up and you won't be able to control any of the DSP.
Yeah, it was one of the things that I was surprised at is when we first tested being able to plug the MV7 into an iPad. Like we just, it was like, I didn't think this was going to work, and we plugged it in and there it was, And so I think people forget that their iPads and even iPhones can see some of these external devices.
Well, and that's a relatively new feature for the iPad Pro specifically. They were prone to being data only as opposed to audio through the USB-C, which now they've opened that up, thankfully. And this is MFI certified, so you can use it with that.
That's great. Next question.
Douglas Carmichael, I own a Yamaha DM3 mixer with high-quality preamps. Would an SM7 be the best choice for Zoom calls? Would there be any desktop mic that would give me high-quality audio without intruding upon the camera shot? And he notes he can EQ, compress, or add a gate on the DM3.
SM7B is a larger mic, so if you're wanting something a little bit more discreet, it sounds like you have pre's that could definitely accommodate and enhance any microphone that you put into it, especially with those additional effects that you're saying that you can add for some processing. I think anytime you can use an SM7B, I'm going to recommend it because it is going to give you the best overall sound, in my opinion. But if you have the processing speed and you want something more low profile, you could go with something like a handheld dynamic mic like the Nexadyne or an SM58 and work with that one. So I would experiment if you can.
As you can see in this show, we're very sensitive to our mics being out of the shot.
Yeah, very sensitive.
Yeah, very sensitive to it. Yeah, exactly. Next question.
Sensitive.
The funny thing is that, just as an aside, like we really talk about the importance of mics all the time, and it's something that we talk about because a lot of times people make podcasts, they jump on Zoom calls, they go to events, these Zoom events that they have to speak at, and they have nothing, to show for it. And, it cheapens the experience, but it also increases cognitive load, and it's just so important. And so one of the reasons that we show the mics is so that people can understand that mics are important, that it's useful. So yeah. Next question.
Kyle Hammond in Chicago, Illinois. When selecting a mic to work in as many environments as possible, what would you suggest?
Oh, that's a tough one. And I just switched back to my MB7 Plus. So Alex, let me know if my gain is bothering you. I can
it's good.
Adjust
it's
accordingly.
Good. Perfect.
Oh gosh. Best one. That's multiple applications. I don't know, guys. What do you think? That's like asking me to pick my favorite kid, or
or one spice that does everything.
If you ask me that, I'll come back to the SM58. I haven't had the Nexadynes yet, so I don't know those ones well enough yet to say it. But the SM58 for us is kind of like, like you can do a lot with it. I mean, as far as a one size fits all. And I speak as someone who owns probably 40 mics. So it's not like I have, it's like you go through the shelf and like, I think I'll use this mic for this. So yes. I'm not, I'm not the person to ask that, but I would say that if someone said you can only have one mic,
what would it be?
Yeah.
The SM58 is a fantastic mic. It's utilitarian, but it sounds great on a number of different applications, number of different voices. Most professional engineers know how to work with an SM58 to get it sounding just the way that they want because they know where to notch things out EQ-wise. So that would be a great place to start.
And what's the difference between the SM57 and the SM58?
Great question. The only difference is the windscreen. Yep. Mm-hmm. There you go. Mickey's got it.
There you go.
An SM57 is an SM58 is an SM57. So this is our Unidyne capsule. And we just initially designed the SM57. And made it more friendly for vocals by having a more robust windscreen to block
Right.
plosives and wind. But
Yeah.
that's it.
Otherwise, it's the same. And the difference between the SM58 and the Beta?
Difference between SM and Beta is that the Beta 58, I just happen to have.
Yeah,
You think
just
you
happen to have
I've
some
got
Shure
like an
microphones
arsenal
laying around. Yeah, exactly.
right here. Yeah. This one has a hardened anodized grill, so it's not going to be as dent prone as the SM58, which is meant to be a crumple zone for the mic, just FYI. But it is a Supercardioid pattern and has some better neodymium magnets and a tighter off-axis rejection because supercard as opposed to cardioid. What else? Yeah, that's it.
That's great. Yeah. Next question.
Josh Kaufman in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Laura, you mentioned the 2-year trial of the Nexadyne microphones. Did you participate in the testing? And what can you tell us about how it does internal and external testing, or how you guys do that, to get the artists and professionals' feedback?
Yes. So our artist relations team have been chairing that and championing that. So they have been with artist camps at various festivals. I participated last year when we partnered up with BMI on the ACL and Lollapalooza stages. We sponsored a stage with them and had all the artists using Nexadyne. So we would kind of just put it up there, and we mainly focused on the engineers and their feedback to say what they liked, what they didn't like, and it was across the board. I didn't have to touch anything. I put this on my artist, who's notoriously difficult to mic or EQ, and it made my job tremendously easier. So once we started dialing in on that feedback and getting what we wanted, we knew we were heading in the right direction. So also trying with some much higher caliber acts and larger scale tours, and the adoption's been really great. So it's exciting to test it, put it out there. And one artist, notably, I can't name, but they took the mic, sang into it, and said, "What is this?" And so when you have your artist notice, that's a big deal. As a vocalist myself, I was prone before working for Shure to picking up a mic and saying, not even saying, just singing into it, leaving the gig, and that was that. But now I know that every microphone is different. Every instrument is different. And so when you have an artist say, "Wow, what is this?" you really know you're onto something. And so that was a very cool moment.
Next
Hope that
question.
answered that. Sorry.
Roscoe Jones in Madison, Indiana. Does the size of a body pack transmitter influence the ability to transmit through the human body? And what are the issues as transmitters shrink in size?
Oh, interesting question. No, we are trying to make transmitters as small as possible. That's what people ask for. Specifically, our Axient Digital body pack. We have one that's a micro body pack for Broadway and stage use that does not heat up and is very, very small. So that won't affect it at all. What it is your antenna strength, your proximity to the transmitter receiver, keeping line of sight. So it doesn't affect it.
Can you explain the changes when you moved from the previous Axient line to the Axient Digital? What was the big upgrade?
Well, going digital from analog,
Right.
also adding additional frequency count, additional management, networking capabilities, Dante, ShowLink, frequency management, and coordination remotely were the main benefits, and just having that more robust whole workflow and package ecosystem.
And the price came down, right, with the digital from the previous version. So it was less
You
expensive
never hear
with
that,
more
right?
features. Like it was, I kept on looking at it going, because I'm a heavy Axient user, and I kept on looking at it going, how is this possible? Like it's got all these extra features and it costs
Yeah.
less. Yeah, so.
Yes, less components, believe it or not, and that's how.
That's our gold for the productions I work on. That's our gold standard.
Thank you.
Next question.
Pedro G. Gonzalez, the third, out of Oklahoma City. Can you discuss the differences between the BLX, PGX, ULX, and QLX wireless microphone systems and the use cases or targets for each?
Sure. So starting with PGX, we recently discontinued that, but that was working in the 900 megahertz spectrum. So think like cordless phones from back in the day, that same kind of frequency band. So that was for very small scale, fixed installations where you're not touring around because you had a very limited range between wireless and transmitter to have substantial success without dropouts. And then BLX is our last remaining analog system in the wireless side of things. It can accommodate around 9, ideally 9 microphones max. So that's great for houses of worship where you can have the fixed channel count. If you're looking for ease of use, it's fantastic because you simply push the group or channel button and it will scan automatically, tell you the open frequencies, and then you just align your transmitter and receiver and match them up. Built-in antenna on the desktop version, but also flexibility to have a rack unit. I think we said QLXD and ULXD were the other two. So
yeah,
QLXD benefits there going from QLXD or up to QLXD from BLX is a digital system. The D at the end means digital, just for funsies, in case you're playing along. And that would give you higher channel count, rechargeability on the batteries. What else for QLXD? Rack mounting. I mean, BLX can be rack mounted as well. But stepping up to ULXD is a whole other world. You have so many more available frequencies. You have Dante, you have encryption, you have multiple capsule options, and just a lot more flexibility.
And when do you go from the ULXD to the Axient?
Then, you go when dropouts are not an option. When you need the absolute most robust, bulletproof system, you go to Axient Digital. You have much more control with Axient, and you have much more management, both remotely and on the physical units. So, that's pretty much the main jump is when it absolutely cannot fail. You go with Axient.
Yep. Next question.
Harshid Trivedi in Daytona Beach, Florida is up next. The MV7 has a touchscreen to get dialed in. What would you recommend for someone with vision loss use, or what is the best accessible mic for the average user?
Great question. So with the MV7, the original MV7, it does have a touch panel. I should say MV7 Plus is a touch panel, but the only thing that is touchable now is it will mute when you touch anywhere on it. So there's no gain levels adjustments on the panel anymore. Right?
It was always, people would grab it or move it and suddenly the gain was down and you're just like, so.
Why?
Yeah, we've talked about how to put tape over it, like let's just make sure no one touches this. Yeah, so.
You can lock the panel controls in your MV7 using a Shure Plus desktop app. So just if you want to do that before sending it out. But for visually impaired or vision loss, I don't know what the best one would be. I mean, if you use MV7 Plus in auto level mode, it kind of takes all of the thinking out of the equation. It's going to automatically adjust your gain levels and make you have the best sound without having to make any manual adjustments. So that could potentially be a great way to go.
Next question.
Douglas Carmichael's up next, and Douglas asks, I noticed that you're very close to the Nexadyne mic. Do you see the Nexadyne becoming the new 57, 58? And are there applications for the Nexadyne in desktop recording, conferencing, not just live vocals?
Good question. I don't think anything will replace our beloved 58. It is ubiquitous and legendary for a reason. It's a different type of microphone. The Nexadyne microphone is so precisely engineered for live vocal performance that that's really where it's going to shine. If you want to use it in a desktop application, you absolutely can. It's got a super tight Supercardioid pattern with extremely good off-axis rejection. So unless you have really great mic technique, it might be a little too tight for you. But yeah, it can work in speech applications. If you're doing conferencing, for example, on a podium, it's a great microphone for that because it will cut through the mix. But no, I don't see it replacing the 58 anytime soon.
Next question.
Next one comes from Marielle Zushamera in Webelow. What are the best DECT mics to use in schools and classrooms and so forth?
I'm unfamiliar with that portion of our business, but we do have a new system that just came out called Next 2. And that is a very cool DECT wireless system that has in the base a handheld and a body pack transmitter that stay charged and housed in that. So it's a really cool option for educators and staying in that DECT band that you can activate and have full control. And it's super simple to use, super simple to set up. and easy to manage as well.
Yeah, and I've used a lot of the Microflex tools for a long time, and they're for what we use them for inside of conferencing and so on and so forth. One of the things that we found really useful in those belt packs was the fact that you could do two-way audio. So you had the ability to take a microphone in, but we could return, an IFB back to the person with that belt pack. We really wish we would see that more things because
Gotcha.
It's super useful to not have to give a separate, IFB receiver to somebody, and being able to hand them one thing that does both of those things has been really useful. And we also use it for like our when we're kind of the high visibility talent wrangler. A lot of times, we actually use these as comms, so that they have, we give them very, very low profile, and they can it's very almost security like comms, and just for some of the folks that we work with. So anyway, they're great tools. Next question.
Josh Kaufman in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania is curious as to your path to being the development manager at Shure. What part of the user base were you part of prior to your work with the company?
Oh, wow. So I've been in this industry for almost 20 years. I'm a singer-songwriter. I went to Berklee College of Music, lived in Nashville for 7 years as a singer-songwriter, and got asked to demonstrate gear at a show called the NAMM Show. And they wanted a female demonstrator because in 2006, we were like unicorns at that show. And so I demonstrated there, and it turned out I was pretty good at teaching people about gear and kind of boiling down complex concepts so that you could grasp it and kind of envision yourself using the gear. So I fell in love with that, started working for a company called TC Helicon, doing marketing, and 10 years went by, and then jumped over to Shure in 2018, I guess. And I've been here ever since. And that's how I got here.
I have a slightly tangential question. My daughter was invited. I guess they're flying her to Berkeley to be part of a summer program. She's a freshman in high school. Is it worth it?
Amazing.
Is it
Yes.
worth? No, I'm saying, is it worth going to Berkeley? How was that experience for you?
Oh gosh, yes. I went a long time ago, and it is so much different now. And it was cool then, and now it's like up above and beyond. I get to go back 2 or 3 times a year and hang with the students there, and I'm just blown away every time by their level of professionalism, their talent, and their eagerness to learn. And so, yes, it's an incredible place to go.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Next question.
Tommy Schatz in St. Paul, Minnesota just simply asked, can you tell us more about the new wireless system you mentioned?
Oh, yeah. I happen to have it right here. I was kind of fiddling with it earlier. Sorry for some pops and clicks here as I open up my case. It's called Move Mic. Oh, sorry. That was glamorous. And it's these 2 little guys right here. And there's also a receiver system that can be added. So it is a proprietary Bluetooth technology that allows you to get 2 channels of audio direct into your phone. That's a first. So if you are out in the field, if you are doing podcasting, if you want to grab a quick run and gun interview, you clip one on you, one on your guest, go directly into your phone, or live stream.
So it's not
2 channels.
So it doesn't need that receiver to go into the phone, or does
Correct.
it need?
Correct.
Whoa.
No receiver. This just ups your game and lets you get into your digital, or your mirrorless cameras, or into your computer, etc.
So what sees that? Like, is it anything will see that as a stereo input, or what is there anything you have to do with your phone to be able to? Do you have to run your app or something that you have on your side to make that work?
Yeah, so you need to use Motive Audio or Video. Those are our free apps, and then it will recognize and pair so that you have access to both channels. If you are using it with third-party apps, you need the receiver, but then you can get into your normal workflow. So that's the benefit there. Or if you're live streaming, plug it into your computer. This goes 2.4 gigahertz, but this one, direct-to-phone, is proprietary Bluetooth technology.
And have you thought of partnering with companies like Zoom, to allow that to go directly so that it could be live into? Is that possible to go to possibly develop for live into different other third-party apps? Yeah,
we do have some cool things that we work on the API side, and we have a partnership team. So you can always reach out to them if you're thinking about doing that. If you are a partner looking for that functionality within your particular platform, that's something that we do.
And is that shipping?
We haven't done it yet, but it's something that we do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And are you shipping that now?
Yes, we are.
That's great. Interesting. And does it record at the mic as well, or does it just record in the phone?
It does not. The compromise to having something this teeny tiny is that it does not have onboard recording, but it is still incredibly durable. And the microphone is IPX4 rated, so waterproof, dustproof, dirtproof, but no onboard recording.
Next question.
Andy Kokendorfer in Viera, Florida. For us SM7B fans, what do you recommend as a USB interface for such a quiet mic? Thanks.
That's a great question. Yes, it is gain hungry. We know this about our beloved. I have an Apollo Twin, but that's on the higher side of things. You can drive it with a number of different interfaces, which have actually kind of grown to power the SM7B, if that sounds right, without sounding kind of weird. I haven't done enough testing because I'm spoiled with my UA, but I do know that some of the Focusrite interfaces will drive it. And I don't know, what are your favorite interfaces, guys?
I have a lot of mixed pre-3s so from sound devices.
Excellent.
So that's
yeah.
So I think a lot of us have mixed pre-3s. So it's or
oh,
sixes
well,
or
you're
10s
fancy. We're all fancy over here.
Yeah,
okay.
you know.
All right.
So I don't and you would not say that necessarily your own X2U would be quite enough beef to run
No,
that.
I'm sorry. You're right. Thank you for saying that. It absolutely will. It has enough headroom in it. We designed it specifically to run with the SM7B. So thank you for reminding me of that.
Perfect. Next question.
Roscoe Jones, Madison, Indiana, is back this time. If buying Shure mics in the used market, is there a factory service or repair facility for used mics?
Outside of warranty, we'll repair any microphone that is ours. So if you contact us at shure.com under support, you can get a ticket open on our website and start from there. So used or otherwise, we will repair any Shure mics or gear.
Next question.
Wait a second. I'm still thinking my 7B could use a bath. Anyway, Chuck Hodges in Tuolumne, California says, where do we go to send in our Pantone code to get our SM7 or MV7 in custom colors to match our group's colors and style books?
Oh, there we go. On the MV7 Plus, or are we talking about actually
Plus.
painting the mics? Because there's two options here, but you can't get into Pantones, but I will show you this because we can. Why not? So within Motive Mix, you have some pretty cool controls. And right here, I have it in solid right now. And so you can't see what I have, but this is really fun. You can get in there and really design how you have it behave. So if I can get in here and do this, and change how it reacts simply by doing that.
And so that it can respond to your audio levels or other things like that?
Yes. Yep. It's working like a meter. And it is accurate. I mean, it's not going to give you measurements like we're looking on our screen, but it works. So it'll let you know if you're clipping. But yeah, you can't get in there and do a custom Pantone. But you can get really, really deep in. Oh, sorry. I lied. You can right here. Of course you can. I haven't explored that for the customs. So you can put it in right there to answer your question. I'm learning something new today.
And I have found that if you scratch your MV7, a Sharpie can very carefully applied make it look okay later. It's just long strokes, just long vertical strokes. It'll just look like it has a little texture, and you'll look at it and go, huh? Oh, look at that.
So this is my MV7. And if you go, we don't have it for MV7 Plus yet, but we're working on it. If you go to colorware.com, you can customize an MV7 or an SM58 or an SM7B, and you can choose the color of the yoke, the body, and this little ring right here. And you can make it glossy or matte or sparkly.
But it still has Shure on it. Like one of the things that we've talked about a lot with the MV7s is printing a 3D print of a piece that would slide onto it that would put our logo on it and other things like that. But you don't have anything like that. It's still, you decide whether it's Shure or whether it's always Shure, but it's glossy.
Yes.
You can decide the colors. You can decide. It's pretty cool. And that is not active yet, or it is active? Can you start
for
ordering these?
MV7, for SM58, and for SM7B? It is active, which I see Mickey looking at it. If you,
Mickey's got it up there. If someone can cut to that, you can see it. There we go. Those are your many. I love the gray. I love the idea of.
I know, me too. That's what this color is on mine. Is gray, and that little ring. So
it's great.
Yeah. So you have options.
Next question.
Todd Raines is in from Allen, Texas again. Can the TQG connector for the PGA 31 interface with any other systems, or is there an adapter to other connections?
TQG is pretty ubiquitous, and the PGA 31 is not band specific. So yes, you could have that work with different body packs.
Next question.
Josh Kaufman of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. What's the best way to provide feedback and feature requests to Shure?
Great question. If you go to Shure.com under support, we have a very robust way of submitting your feedback. There's a find and answer section. There's a raise a ticket section. You can really get in there and make recommendations. There's also at the bottom of the Shure website several different areas to give feedback. So we have lots of areas to get in touch with us.
Next question.
Harshit Trivedi and Amendabed Gujarat, looks like. You mentioned the mute switch on the new Shure mic. Is it more like a touch sensor, or does it offer any tactile feel when you touch the button and illuminate?
It does not do any tactile feedback. It is just a tap and it lights up red, and you know that you're muted. So that's anywhere on here, you tap it and it mutes. You can also lock that so it doesn't mute when you touch it. So
you just lock it all out. We will send you a mic, and it will do the thing that it needs to do, and you won't have to have any. Because all those settings are persistent in the mic. So you can open it up in the software, get it all the way you want it, and then put it in a box and send it out.
Yes.
Last question for the hour.
Robert Soji in Los Angeles has our final one. Any special edition Shure mics planned in the near future? We've got a collector.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, I mean, we're always making new things and having new innovations, and we're hitting our 100th birthday next year. So I don't know what's coming, but I have a feeling maybe something cool.
Laura, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. It's been such a blast hanging out with you. I appreciate it.
Really a pleasure to have you. Thanks so much. And thanks to to our panelists here. We can't do this without you. So first hour and second hour, so great to have you here. Thanks to the incredible team on the back end. There's a small village that lights up to figure out, who's going to be on the show, figure out how to do the show, figure out how to build all the hardware and software that makes the show happen. We really appreciate everybody's contribution. And thanks to the producers, of course, for asking all the questions. Watching here and keeping the show going. It's a really short show without your questions. So we're really glad that you're here to ask those questions. Today we traveled 100. If we had to walk from each person asking the questions to Laura's office and back, we would have traveled 106,000 miles. That's 170,000 kilometers. And that is 836 million bananas for scale. All right, let's go ahead and jump into After Hours.
And we should have done SM58s for scale today.
We should have done SM58s.
I know, we all have
they're
them.
About the same length as a banana. We could have just said 836 million SM58s for scale.
Wait, I have two 57s. I don't have any 58s. Oh, darn.
Yeah. The difference, it would have been like 836 million SM58s or 870 million SM57s. It would be,
someone would jump in and be like, actually,
I think you're off by a couple million.
Another 58 is 3/4 of an inch longer than 57.
Great job. That was fun to listen to. Thanks, Laura.
Thanks so much, Laura.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. All right, absolutely. I'm jumping off now, I guess.
Back to conversation because that MV7 Plus I'm going to have to get.
Well, people now, Alex, so we can make that happen for you.
Okay, cool. All right.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
All right,
bye.
All right, bye.
Bye.